Hello everybody, Shinjo here, and welcome back to Let's Talk Anime, and here we are at episode 62. It has certainly been quite some time since the last episode, but basically I haven't had time to watch a lot of stuff that I haven't discussed in other videos, and I haven't been given many requests. And when I haven't had time to watch them. But I'm back with this. I have at least a couple more episodes planned out, so hopefully I can make this relatively consistent again. But you don't care about all that, so if you have any requests, leave them down in the comment section, and let's begin. Today we are going to start with The World's Finest Assassin. This was one that was on my list before, but I haven't had time to watch it, and finally watching it, it's okay. It's your standard isekai fare. The main character is, in this time, an overpowered old man. Well, he starts as an old man, then he came into being a younger person, and as the title suggests, he's an assassin. The things I like about it is the first episode is really interesting. Honestly, at first, I didn't think that it was going to be an isekai, but after realizing what the show's title is and the opening, I kind of had a feeling that that's how it was going to be. The other thing that I liked is there was this one moment in one of the episodes that I watched where Lug was talking with, I can't even remember her name, the one girl that was essentially training him. Lug wanted these stones or whatever, she didn't want to give them to him, and he just kind of scoffed at her. I like that scene because it makes it so he's not just your general standard isekai protagonist that's always, I'm gonna help my friends, I'm gonna be positive, I'm never gonna give up, etc, etc. You've heard all this stuff before in other anime. If you take that part out, he's just a bland character, to be quite honest. I didn't really like him outside of that one scene. The other thing that I liked is the time that they take to focus on how he starts at the way he is and just gradually rises up to the person that he becomes later on in the show. I like that, but at the same time, kind of transitioning into the cons, I don't like it because most anime nowadays are only 12 to 13 episodes. So by the time you get to that start off point, it's basically the end of the show. And unless you get a second season, then it's not really that worth it. Another thing that I didn't like, and I alluded to this earlier, it doesn't have to be an isekai at all. You could just have it be Lug being born into this family, doing all of this, whatever, but it doesn't have to be an isekai. It just seems like a lot of shows nowadays have this idea for fantasy settings, fantasy sort of characters and stuff, and just at the last second they throw in the isekai tab. It just seems like it's one of those things that just makes things easier for people to watch it. And also on the note of characters, outside of how the eyes look, nothing really stands out. Like if you took one of these characters and threw them in another show, I'd fully believe that they've been there from the start. And the other thing that breaks my heart the most is this is done by Studio Silverlink. I looked this up because I figured it would make a good point. Silverlink does a lot of isekai and in general anime that I watched before. Other stuff that they've done I've really liked. I've liked Bofuri and I like Hamifura. But this one I just don't care about. I don't know what it is that separates those from this show, but I just don't like this as much, mainly because it just feels kind of generic. But at the end of the day, it's okay because not everybody's going to have the same taste that I am, and I'm not going to like the same things that other people like. So let's get on to the next thing. And the next thing is another isekai. This time it's Black Summoner. I swear, you guys just love your isekai, don't you? So Black Summoner is another isekai, as I mentioned before. But let's just jump into the positives. I like this protagonist so much more than Lug. He has so much more personality than Lug did in the entire 3 episodes that I watched. But Kelvin just comes in and gives personality in like the first few minutes. Because the show literally starts with him being reincarnated. They never mention how he got reincarnated, what happened to him, all that. And in a way, I kind of like that because it leaves things open-ended. But the negative is it also leaves things open-ended. But I like how Kelvin's just saying, hey, I met this goddess that brought me to this world. And then just casually mentions, hey, she's kind of hot, isn't she? I just like that scene because that gave me a genuine chuckle. Because he's just like, as you can tell from the picture, a teenager, maybe almost an adult, and that does generally sound like something that they would say. So at least it's realistic and gives him more personality. Even taking Kelvin out of the equation, the other characters that he meets, like Chloro and whatever the Skeleton Knight's name is, they're all pretty funny in their own right. Everybody's just their own brand of weirdness, and I kind of like that. It's almost like this is like what One Punch Man is for shonen. It's trying to be serious, but also a satire at the same time. This feels like a satire on isekai. I really like that. But unfortunately, there are some things I didn't like about it. The one major thing that I can say is there are a lot of scenes in general, but primarily at the end of the third episode, that's just Kelvin recapping everything that happened. And while I like the slower pace that World's Finest Assassin did before, I would have liked to see the stuff actually happening rather than Kelvin just saying, here's what happened, and just rattle off everything while everybody's enjoying a meal. I would have liked that a lot more, but I understand time constraints are a thing. The other thing that I didn't like, and it's not for this show specifically, it's just for isekai in general. Why does every isekai involve slaves? It feels like it's just a thing that they do nowadays. The other example I can give is Naofumi and Raphtalia and Shield Hero, and then Kelvin and Ephil in this show. I feel like there are other examples, but I was hesitant on talking about it. But the more I watch isekai and the more I notice this, the more questions that I have about people behind the scenes. But honestly, it was a genuine good show. I liked it a lot. If there would be any show that I'd go back and watch, it would probably be this one. But let's get on with the last topic of today, and it is everybody's favorite golden child, Chainsaw Man. I don't think this was actually listed in the order that I'm discussing them here, but I had to move things around just so I have enough to discuss for one video. And I'm hoping by the time that I post this, Chainsaw Man is still new, or at least posting, if anything, at the end of the season. But yeah, to give background, Chainsaw Man has had a lot of hype built around it going into this year, and I decided, sure, why not? It's available on Hulu. I'll watch it. It's okay. I like Denji as a character, even though he is a bit awkward in more ways than one. But I'm sure you've even noticed this with the fan-made opening that I posted using the opening for this show. I see a lot of parallels between this and Jujutsu Kaisen. Normal, average dude transforms into some giant monster by eating something. Well, Denji doesn't eat something, but same general idea. He turns into a monster. In here we have Chainsaw Man, and in Jujutsu Kaisen we have Itadori and the demon inside of him. Obviously there are some differences, but the fact that it's so similar just with that premise, and the fact that it's the same studio certainly doesn't help the situation. But let's get on with the things that I liked about it. The characters are definitely memorable. I feel like if I would watch more of the show, the more spotlight that these characters would get and the more that I'd appreciate them. Because at the same time, the only ones I can really remember off the top are Denji, Makima, and Power. And they're for obvious reasons. The other thing that I liked is the variety in endings. Because while Chainsaw Man has only one opening, they have a different ending for each of the episodes. And that's really cool. The episodes that I have seen, there are some that I prefer more than others. I think there was one that Maximum the Hormone did in one of the endings. I wasn't the biggest fan of that one. But Chainsaw Blood, I absolutely love that one. But the things I didn't like about it are, and this is probably my personal feelings diving into this, I'm just getting to the point where I'm getting tired of people praising the show. Whether they're doing it genuinely or just doing it as memes at this point, I just get tired of people saying, Chainsaw Man's so good, it's going to be the best thing in the year, even though it came out right at the very end of the year. I'm not saying that it isn't good, but it's the same thing with a lot of shows where it's genuinely good, but there are probably a lot of people that don't even watch it because they get so tired of people talking about it. While I like the premise of it and how things are being built up, I feel like there's still a hint of edginess with the show that I just can't get on board with. It just feels like for a majority of the show that I've seen, they just do things that are kind of more gory and more weird just to get reactions. That's what it feels like for me. I'm sure that's how it is in the original source material, but I just can't get on board with the edginess, personally. That is going to be it for this episode of Let's Talk Anime. I'm sure that I could have talked more about these topics more in depth, but it's been a while since I've discussed this, and I just wanted to get my thoughts out from the notes that I wrote. It's going to be a process of getting back into discussing Let's Talk Anime and having it be a general good chunk video that I can discuss the things. Let me know what you think about all the topics that I discussed here. If you have any topics for me to discuss in the future, leave them down in the comment section, and I'll see you next time. Momentai.